Mr. Speaker.
Order. Questions for oral answer. Mr. Leon Pereira.
Question 1, please, sir.
Mr. Speaker, with your permission, may I take questions 1 to 4 together, please?
Yes, please.
Sir, platform workers face unique conditions at work. They are subject to management control and are not able to set their own fees or remuneration, unlike the typical freelancers that we know. However, compared to employees, they receive lower job protections. To address this, the Advisory Committee on Platform Workers was convened in September last year to look into 3 areas of concern, namely enhancing housing and retirement adequacy, providing financial protection in the event of work injury, and strengthening representation. Since it was convened, the committee has actively engaged stakeholders through dialogues as well as a public consultation paper. To date, we have reached out to more than 20,000 platform workers and received about 1,200 submissions from them. To Mr. Muhammad Fahmi's question, more than half of these submissions touch on CPF contributions, and of which 55% indicated support for the idea of mandatory CPF contributions to platform workers. Housing was the most commonly cited reason for wanting CPF contributions, followed by retirement. Now, this is not surprising, as platform workers today only make CPF contributions to their MediSave accounts for their healthcare needs. In the coming months, we will continue with our engagement efforts and encourage all stakeholders, including platform workers, to share their views. The committee is also aware that other surveys on platform work was commissioned and published recently, some of which were commissioned by the platform companies. These surveys vary in methodology, and some have much smaller number of respondents. Some of these surveys also did not capture the management controls and challenges that the platform workers face. An independent ethnographic study by the Institute of Policy Studies in NUS, IPS, on delivery riders found that riders who are keen to earn an income of more than $4,000 a month would likely need to work more than 10 hours a day for at least 6 to 7 days a week, cycling at least 60 to 70 kilometers a day, and not reject any assigned orders. They need to maintain long and disciplined hours at work and must certainly be physically fit. There is significant physical and mental stress imposed on these workers. While the surveys differ in their emphasis and findings, the one consistent feedback they note is that platform workers do experience greater uncertainty and would appreciate some aspects of what employees enjoy, such as the benefit of CPF contributions and work injury compensation. Ms. Yeo Wan Ling asked about how mandatory CPF contributions for platform workers could be implemented. Now, without prejudging the outcome of the committee's deliberation, if this is implemented, we will develop appropriate mechanisms to ensure compliance. Today, platform workers already make mandatory CPF contributions out of their own earnings, although at a lower level of contribution compared to an employee. The committee is mindful that if mandatory CPF contributions for platform workers is introduced, platform companies will have to start making contributions. While this will increase their business costs, it is no worse off than any other company employing workers in a similar sector, such as in logistics and transport. Besides, platform companies already contribute CPF for their management executives and administrative staff today, a point which many of these riders whom I engage with make as well. They ask a question, as the ones who are bringing revenue in for the company risking themselves on the roads, why are they not given some of these basic things that employees working for the companies in the office actually also enjoy? But at the same time, the committee is also aware that some platform workers are concerned about the impact on their take-home earnings. This somehow also suggests that platform workers are not as well paid as some recent surveys have tried to portray. Mr. Leon Pereira and Mr. Liang En Hua asked about the profile and longer-term work career prospects of platform workers. In 2021, the majority of these workers who depended on platform work as their main job were older residents aged 50 and over, although delivery workers tended to be slightly younger, with the majority aged below 40. This is not surprising, as riders have to maintain a certain level of physical fitness and toil for many hours a day, covering long distances in order to keep their earning levels high, as I had earlier described. The majority, or around 80% of those whose main job is a platform worker, view it as their preferred job. In 2021, 8% of those who depended on platform work as their main job switched to work primarily as an employee, a slight increase from the 5 to 6% in recent years. We will continue to support platform workers to actively plan their careers and strengthen their employability, while respecting the preference of many to continue in platform work. For those looking for employment opportunities, Workforce Singapore and NTUC's Employment and Employability Institute offer career matching services, including career coaching, employability workshops, and job fairs. The Work Fair Skills Support Scheme and the SG United Jobs and Skills Package are also available to them. So at the height of the pandemic and the circuit breaker, these delivery riders help maintain our quality of life by risking themselves to meet our needs. Singaporeans have called for more to be done for this group of precarious workers. These are often the forgotten heroes during the pandemic. So even as we gradually ease into the endemic phase of a fight against COVID-19, let us not forget the needs of this group of precarious workers. The committee's work is still ongoing. As it continues to consult widely and facilitate deeper discussions, we will take in the feedback from platform workers and platform companies. The committee aims to provide practicable and sustainable recommendations and is considering an appropriate phasing period for the industry to adjust. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Leon Pereira.
Thank the SMS for his answer. Just two supplementary questions regarding the figure given of, I think, 8% who have transitioned back to permanent employment. Would the SMS have any data on the profile, the demographic profile of those who actually move out of platform work into permanent employment of some sort or another? Are they the older ones or are they the younger ones? And secondly, given the developments in technology and also the fact that this kind of work that the platform workers do may be harder for older people to do physically, there is a long-term employability concern that I think the SMS alluded to. Would the government consider, going forward, engaging more proactive communications to these platform workers to make them aware of these challenges and to kind of stimulate them to think more about their long-term career prospects in other industries? There is drone delivery, for example, that is being, displacing some of these jobs already, in some cities. So those are my two questions. Thank you.
So the member rightly pointed out some of the concerns that the committee is deliberating. And these are concerns actually of some of the workers themselves. The fear of autonomous vehicles replacing their jobs. And also for the riders at least, it being such a physically demanding career, there is a question of how they can sustain this over a long period of time and make it a lifelong career. And also the risk of being injured any day. And once you can't physically subject yourself to the kind of toil anymore, the income will be impacted. On the other hand, the workers do value the flexibility and the autonomy to some extent that they have. It is also a job with low barriers to entry and allows them a quick access to ready cash, to tide over a period of need. So there are pros and cons, and the committee will continue to consult and engage our stakeholders. In terms of encouraging the workers to then look at a career transition, this is something that we have already put in place some measures and some schemes to support them, but ultimately it's also helping them to raise their awareness of what will make a sustainable career and help them to acquire the skills that's necessary to transit into a sector that may be of interest to them. So skills upgrading is still core to the whole endeavor. But I think this is a complex issue. The demographics are quite widespread. Different segments of people have different needs. So I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all strategy that will cater to all and appeal to all of them. I think we need to look at this from a multi-pronged perspective. And therefore, in answer to the question posed, the first one, on what is the demographics of the 8% who may have made the transition, I don't have the full data, but my sense is that it is a very disparate group. Some could be younger, some could be older, some could be more educated, some, because maybe of their physical condition, realize that they need to transit to something that is probably less physically demanding as well. So I think it is actually a broad spectrum. The point being that we need many different things to meet the different needs of different groups of people, and it's unlikely to be a one-size-fits-all solution, not a fixed archetype. Thank you.
Mr. Murali Pillai.
Mr. Speaker, sir, may I ask the Honourable Senior Minister of State, what proportion of platform workers are ex-offenders, and what steps can be taken to encourage ex-offenders to look at more value-added jobs so that their long-term prospects would be protected? Thank you.
So the member asked an important question, because we did say that this is a job with low barriers to entry. And actually, unfortunately, I don't think the companies themselves track such data on what's the status of this person's jobs before and during or after they join the platform work. Because it's just as simple as downloading an app, getting a simple sign-up, and they can actually engage in this kind of work. So I think the challenge is in getting the data. We will try to do some surveys on this, but I think it's very hard for us to get very, very accurate data on how many percentage of them are ex-offenders. Not all of them will also engage in this full-time. Some are doing this as a supplement. So as I said, the landscape is very diverse, and I think the challenge is to actually get a true fix. At one point in time, we may get a single snapshot on how many ex-offenders are working in the platform, but they could easily exit the next day, and more may come on the next day after. So I think this is where whatever intervention we design, we need to have that flexibility to cater to the evolving needs of this group of workers. Upstream intervention, including the Yellow Ribbon Project, I think will be very important to make sure that ex-offenders, before they are reintegrated back into society, are already given some degree of skills training to allow them to actually, from the outset, look for jobs that are able to sustain them for the longer term, and have employers that are prepared to take them on as employees, so that there is perhaps less impetus for them to enter platform work as the job of choice when they get out into the rest of society. So I think it takes all stakeholders, including the prison service, including employers who are enlightened, to engage and work with ex-offenders. Thank you, sir.
Tam Singh.
Just like to ask the SMS, does he have any recent data on how many of these platform workers actually make CPF contributions on their own accord?
So in answer to the LO's question, I do not have the actual data because at this moment, some of them are doing only a very small segment of their working life, right? So they could be just on a very casual basis, and they may not actually make a contribution to CPF if they are not working in this job as a full-time platform worker. We are trying to get data from CPF and from the platform companies to see if we can actually get a better sense of it. But our assessment is that probably around 45% thereabout are making some CPF contribution to their MediSave account. So it is probably at best about half of them doing so. And we hope to actually get clearer data when we engage with the drivers, the riders, as well as the platform companies.
Yuan Ling.
Will the MOM also consider phasing in CPF contributions by platforms to cushion any price impact on consumers and alleviate any potential adverse impact on the take-home incomes of our platform workers, which is something that the labour movement is ultimately the most worried about? So in my main reply, I did say that the committee is considering some
potential mechanism like a phasing period. And I think that's probably one way to actually ease the industry into this transition of some CPF contribution so that the immediate impact on both consumers, platform workers, and the business costs of the companies can be managed over time. And I think this is something that the committee will engage further with the companies and the workers before landing on a fixed recommendation. Thank you, sir.